Good morning, Ideal fam. It's been a while since I talked about my Lexus GX470. Been about 6 months. As you can see, it looks a little different. So what I'm gonna do is run you guys through the first modifications I made to my Overland Lexus GX470 and why they might make sense if you plan on modifying a GX470 or really any overlanding vehicle for that matter. All right, before we get started, of course, hit that subscribe button down below and let's go. Now first, we're gonna start with the mod that, I mean, everyone cares about. It's the first thing you do when you buy a new car if you're into tuning cars like I am. The wheels. Now what I went with was the Method MR312s because, I mean, they look sick, they're bronze, they have a really good offset for the GX470. And the main reason I went with them, well, they're friggin' cheap. Because unlike Brad Danger, I'm not about to spend 70,000 bucks on this thing. So I'm gonna go for the cheap route pretty much 9 times out of 10 when it comes to this thing. And the Methods, well, they're a really great looking wheel for a really low price. I think I got these for about 250 bucks a wheel. The only issue I have with them is that they're pretty freaking heavy. Coming in at around 36 or 32 pounds, I forget. What that means is when I installed these wheels and tires, I instantly lost about 6 miles to the gallon from my already pretty dismal 18 miles per gallon highway. But that's okay. All the money I saved not buying sweet $2,000 wheels goes to my gas savings account, I guess. Another thing I don't love, but also do like, is this fake beadlock. I really do wish I went with some real beadlocks just because of how I intend to off-road this thing, but at least it looks the part, even if it's kind of fake poser. Now I know I said I went cheap on most of the parts here, but one place you don't want to cheap out on is your tires. And because of that, I went with the best I could find, the Toyo Open Country AT3s. And full disclosure, they are a sponsor of ours, but I would have bought them anyway. They're fantastic tires. I got mine in 265/70 R17, which is the largest size that you can keep in the factory spare mounting location. Now, if I did this all over again, I might go a little bigger, just because I pretty quickly intend to put on a rear bumper or some other way of mounting the rear tire, rather than the stock spare location. And a bigger tire would have given me a lot better clearance. Clearance is something I run into a lot on this GX470. Now the AT3s aren't cheap, but they're not expensive either. I think these are about 200 bucks a tire, which in the world of aggressive all-terrain tires is in the middle range, I think. But it's not middle range in terms of performance. Now I've been wheeling recently and it's winter here in the Pacific Northwest, so there's lots of mud and snow and rain and rough conditions. And I go out with a bunch of Tacoma guys who all have KO2s or the Falcon Wild Peaks. And let's just say I'm pulling them out of the mud. They're getting stuck a lot, especially in the mud. These have done absolutely fantastic in the mud, despite them not being a mud terrain. They're also dead quiet on the road. I mean, I have a Lexus, so it's pretty quiet inside, but I do not hear these tires at any speed. Now, as the sun comes out in the Pacific Northwest, I intend to test these a lot more. So far, I've only aired them down to about 15 to 20 pounds, and they have held up beautifully when I did that. All right, let's go check out the front of the car. All right, now, for the first mod I actually made to the GX470, I replaced these headlights. The GX came with some really ugly, foggy headlights that sucked, and it was really hard to see, so I replaced them with these sport packages from Depot. Focus. Uh-oh. Hello? Hello? Please focus. Because my GX is black, the nice smoky lens on the sport packages really adds a nice flare to the car. And then I also added in a cheap set of LED headlights from Amazon in there, and they've worked really well. I had to replace one because it went out, but they replaced it for me for free. Also up front, a thing you're going to run into a lot on a GX470 is clearance of your bumpers. So I took a Dremel in about 5 minutes and I did a really crappy job, but I trimmed the front bumper off, makes it look a little less like a minivan, and gives me a ton of clearance for these bigger tires. And definitely last but not least is this Taco Vinyl TRD style little emblem I added, which I think is a really cool little touch. Comes in lots of colors for whatever color Lexus you have. Now next up is a mod that I think pretty much any car looks better with and is super cheap and easy to install. These well visors, window visors. Here in the Pacific Northwest, it's always raining. So when I'm wheeling in the rain, it's great to be able to roll down my windows and be able to hear and see what my tires are doing without getting a bunch of water in my car. Bonus, it actually adds a huge amount to the look of the car in my opinion. And it's like so cheap. I think these were like $65. The only problem with them is be good at installing them. Otherwise you're gonna end up with really ugly little splotchy materials. But as you can tell, I don't really give a crap about how my truck looks. So I left them on there. All right, for my next mod, I just installed a dent in my hood. But actually what I want to talk about is this roof rack. This is a Prinsu Designs GX470 roof rack. Now, when we first started buying parts for this, it was just when the pandemic had started and parts were near impossible to find. So we actually went with the Prinsu because it was in stock. But after owning it for 6 months, I think I made the right choice. It wasn't too expensive, it was about 900 bucks. It came with a bunch of accessories and even came with this little rubber diffuser to keep the air wind noise down, which actually works once you install it right. I had it backwards at first. It's extremely moddable and it supports that giant rooftop tent up there perfectly. Installation was also a total breeze. I think me and Brad did it in about an hour and a half. And all installed, it actually has some pretty decent fitment. You can buy some roof racks that really don't hug the profile of the roof line very well, and it can look pretty hokey. The Prinsu does not have that problem. Now, speaking of modifications for the roof racks, the first one I installed was this Smittybilt axe and shovel mount, which I love. It really adds to the look of the car and also keeps me from having to keep those things inside the car, getting the interior muddy and dirty. I mean, I dig a lot of Tacomas out of the mud, so this thing's gotten a little bit of use out of it. It's 50 bucks, and the reason I went with the Smittybilt is because you can actually lock it. It's got a little mount here to lock. Super easy to install. I don't have a garage. I installed it in the street in like 15 minutes. And having an axe and a shovel on the side of your car, I mean, lets other people know that you mean business. And this GX470 is all about looking like it means business. Now, this next modification requires a little bit of setup. Hold on, you'll see what I mean in a second. This is the cheapest hard rooftop tent you can buy on Amazon a year ago. They don't sell it anymore, and that's a damn shame. This is the Dragonly or 711 or any number of other brand fake names that they have on Amazon. Hardshell rooftop tent. It is a direct ripoff of the Tepui Highbox. I mean, I think it's made in the same damn factory, just made a little quicker. Now I won't go into a full breakdown in this video. I intend to make a video about it as its own video, but just know the Tepui Highbox is over 3,000 bucks, and this was 1,600 and came with prime shipping straight from China. It came in pretty rough shape. Missing a lot of hardware. I've had to do so many different things to keep the thing closed. It opens on the freeway constantly, but somehow it's still worth it. I still love it. I've even decorated the inside with little cute lights and a comforter. It's my home away from home this year. So expect to see me outside a lot more in 2021. Oh, and there's one more thing I forgot to talk about. Another one of the first mods that any off-roading, overlanding GX470 owner should do is get rid of these stupid side skirts. 1, they make you look like a friggin' minivan. 2, taking them off gives you like 3 inches more of clearance. And 3, it doesn't stop all your mud from splashing on your car and making your GX look sweet. Now, like I said, I have a lot more plans for this, and pretty much step 1 after this video is putting sliders on here, because if I go over something I can't clear, I'm just hitting the door, and that's, you don't want to do that. Now, speaking of clearance, let's talk about the lift I just installed. A couple of weeks ago, I decided to install an Icon 3.5-inch lift stage 1 to give this thing a bit more clearance. The GX470 is a very capable off-roader, but clearance is its biggest downfall. Specifically, the front end really likes to hit a lot of stuff. I mean, even with this 3.5-inch lift, I'm still pretty nervous on most like hardcore Jeep trails. And that limitation is really now my tires. They're a little too small. Now, I went with the Icon Vehicle Dynamics setup for 2 reasons. 1, it was affordable. This lift was only 1,800 bucks from Metaltech 4x4. And second, the Icon ecosystem seems to be the biggest and most diverse. So as I plan to grow with the GX470, I'll have lots of suspension options to grow into with me. But this stage 1 kit isn't just a bunch of shocks and springs, it actually comes with a lot. For starters, when you order it through Metaltech 4x4, they give you a free airbag delete kit, which gets rid of that sloppy, bouncy, and probably worn out on your GX airbag suspension system in the rear. And for the front, it also comes with a sway bar relocation kit to keep you from rubbing as you push this thing up to 3.5 inches. Now, I have my setup set to 3 inches. And the reason I stopped there is my stock suspension components are maxed out. I can't even pull camber out of the driver's side. So an upper control arm swap is definitely in my near future so that I can figure out all the alignment. Now, as for performance, it's fantastic, up front at least on mine. In the rear, it's a little soft and spongy, and I think that's because of the giant heavy rooftop tent and all the shit I have in the back. Kind of rides like airbags in the back still. So I might look into seeing if there's a spring upgrade to give it a little stiffer ride. All told though, for 1,800 bucks, for this much of a lift, and for that many accessories that come with it, the Icon Vehicle Dynamics Stage 1 is kind of a no-brainer, and should definitely be on your list if you're planning on off-roading a GX470. Again, you're gonna just bottom out on stuff if you don't. Now there's a number of other little things I did, a bunch of little Amazon modifications I made, a bunch of overland gear I have in the back here. I won't get into that. I plan on making another video all about all of the Amazon gear you can buy to outfit your vehicle for overlanding. But definitely one of the most important mods I made were these storage boxes. I got these at Target for about 16 bucks a piece. They stack up, they fit perfectly in here. I got 4 of them. I got camping gear, I got recovery gear, I got some extra clothing for cold weather, some food stuff. And all in all, they've just totally cleaned up the interior of my car because it used to be kind of a mess. As for the inside, there ain't a whole lot to tell. Really the only mods I made in here are these window visor mole panels to carry by radio. Got like a compass and a fire starter. Got a little knifeys thing, tire pressure, tools, another radio. Again, all in all, just to clean up the interior of this car because there's not a ton of storage space in the GX470 stock. Let's damage my car some more. So that's it for stage 1 of what I'm calling Big Baby Elephant, because she's just a big dumb elephant. And I think a lot of those mods that I made are great mods for you to make on your Jeep, your Tacoma, your 4Runner, your whatever. What were your favorite mods on this list, or what's the next mod I should do to Big Baby Elephant? Let us know down below, and while you're down there, give us a like, subscribe to Ideal Media, because we're gonna be doing a lot more of this, and as always, keep living the ideal lifestyle, which is, you know, out in nature, go outside, wear a friggin' mask, you dummies.